Welcome to Second Listen Saturday on the Parenting Roundabout podcast, where we share some fun moments from a past episode for your weekend listening pleasure. Look for new episodes every Monday through Friday.
It's something that's been brewing over a long time, and part of me thinks we should have stepped in sooner, but then the other part of me is, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And then, of course, you also want to encourage your children to problem solve, and you don't want to quickly step in and, well, some parents do, but depending on the child, for us, we would, we encourage our kids to try and do a little bit of problem solving themselves, as the audience knows, particularly when my daughter leaves things at home and expects me to take her. So anyway, we've had an incident recently where we had to just draw the line with my daughter's coach, and it was really an uncomfortable moment, because the whole time we were questioning, is this adult, is he being a coach, or is he being, a bully? Is he not looking out for the best interest of all the girls on his team? And it was a really stressful time. And so we're in the process of sorting all of that out right now. But I guess my question that I'm throwing out and that I'm asking and that I'm thinking about is coaches. I mean, we here in America, they're revered for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you sort of get the message that you can't question their decisions, that you can't, they have the ultimate say. Their decisions are the final decisions. And so what indicators are there that maybe those decisions aren't the best? Mm-hmm. And where do you, I don't know, I guess I'm throwing out a lot of questions right now just because of the situation that we found ourselves in. But yeah, I really wonder when is the coach being an adult and being a real coach, or when is the coach being a bully and being somebody who's not having healthy expectations of their team members? So that's my question. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, Catherine, you deal with this a lot in sports. You have more experience with that than I do.
Well, we've been lucky. I think we've had good coaches for the most part. I can't really think of when we've been in a situation like this, because it's really hard. Like you said, we want our kids to respect authority figures and coaches, and we also complain a lot about parents who are overly aggressive sports parents, who go after the coach and like, why isn't my kid getting more playing time? Or, why? So that's all part of respecting the coach. But then, sometimes the coach is not earning that respect, which sounds like happened in your case. I also think it's tough because kids are motivated differently. Maybe you could say that a coach is a bully if your child is, turned off instead of motivated. But maybe your kid is turned off, but another kid is like, I'm going to show him, So I think that's where it's really, really hard, because every child has a different kind of setting in their brain about how they're going to be motivated to do their best. And, I think for most kids it's positive reinforcement that works, but not for every kid. So how do you decide, like, not only is this not working for my kid, but I don't think it's working for other kids either. And I don't think it's something that should be allowed to continue. It's really, really hard.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And when you get in a group situation with team sports, I think, where you have to motivate the whole group rather than an individual sport where you can tailor your coaching to the particular kid. When you have a whole group, my only experience of this is with like marching band. And the director, some kids absolutely revered him, and some kids hated his guts and left and complained. And it's, I could see you certainly, if you walk by the practice, you can hear him just screaming at them and picking on particular kids, and it sounds awful, but it also seemed to me that he sort of picked who he picked on as kids who could handle it, and then the others, not wanting to be yelled at, would do what they were supposed to do. I don't think he ever picked on my daughter. I think he knew that would not be a good idea. So, or maybe he picks on kids that he thinks need to leave. So I could see the value of it, even though if it was my kid, I would be ticked. But, to make 100 teenagers all do the same thing, I see the value of fear. You want him to feel, I don't want him to yell at me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do it right. I don't want to let down everybody. I don't want to get everybody in trouble. And I know when I was in high school, our choir director was the same way. Certain amount of bullying behavior is typical in that, and I know it's typical in team sports. It's hard to see the line. And this is where
I get really upset from a teacher point of view, because I know that you can control large groups without yelling and without instilling fear.
Well, there's a difference between control and getting them to do something precise all at the same time. It's not just a matter of sitting still and being quiet.
Which is control. Yeah. You have to take that whole group and have them do what you want them to do at the exact same time. And that, to me, that puts more fear and resentment and anxiety in kids when there are more positive ways of working with groups of kids, and this us accepting this negative behavior from coaches. I mean, we would who else would we accept that behavior from? Would you accept it from their classroom teacher? No. Would you accept that behavior? So
some classroom teachers do, though.
I know, and it's horrifying. There's no need for that behavior.
Yeah.
There's no need. There's ways to work with kids where you don't have to instill fear.
On one of my daughter's teams, the coach works with several levels, right? There's younger kids who don't have as much skill, and then there's, 4 tiers. And she'll say to the parents, like, okay, now your kid is in this higher level. I'm going to be yelling more. I just, I am tougher on them at this age because I know they can take it. And she tells the parents that up front, like, there's going to be yelling. But the kids respect her, and they know that she gets results. And she, sometimes she does have to pick on certain people if they're doing things wrong. But mostly it motivates them to do better. But it's not, it's a correction. It works as a correction, not as a, I'm putting you down kind of thing. I think that's a distinction that's very fine, but it matters.
I mean, we've fortunately had the experience of having some great coaches. So we've had the opposite experience where there's some really good coaches. One in particular that worked with Josh in his first season of water polo. Man, he was fantastic. He was encouraging. He was supportive. And those kids, they worked hard for him because. Yeah. And so I think, that's just kind of my my opinion. So when you have a problem like this, or when you do have an issue like this, whether or not you're, think the coach is being too harsh or not harsh enough, what's the best way to approach the situation? Because, ours was a bit indirect, but how would you approach the situation if you were having trouble with the coach? And some people are not comfortable in face-to-face conversation.
Right.
So what do you guys think?
Well, I think it depends on the coach and the kid. And, if it's a team situation, are there other parents and kids that are feeling the same way? Is it the kind of thing where you need to gather in a group and approach the board of directors or the principal or whatever, go over that coach's head sometimes? Or is it the kind of thing where maybe if you had a group of people, you'd feel more comfortable speaking directly with the coach? It's hard.
It is.
I agree.
It's tough.
Yeah, I really, the whole deal of knowing when to step in, when it's a good idea to step in, when you should have your child handle it, when you should group with other parents, I am really bad at that. I mean, I've had to pick a lot of fights over the years, and I look back on some of them and think, I shouldn't have done that, and I think of other times when I should have done something and I didn't, and it's really hard to know. The possibility of improving a bad situation, there's a possibility of that, but there's so much of a possibility of making a bad situation worse or making a situation that was really good and you just misunderstood it bad. And I see so many parents picking fights that I would not pick and approaching things in ways that I would not approach them. And then things change for everybody. Somebody complains that their kid is being made to do this thing. And so the administration says you can't do that. And then every time it's brought up, well, we can't do that because somebody complained. And then, so I don't know. I have no answer for that. And I hate conflict. And yet I've had to seek it out just because, that's how you advocate for your kids.
Right. Now,
do you think, Nicole, that it makes a difference if it's a school sport? Ostensibly this person is a teacher. So are there different ways that it should be handled if the coach in question is basically an employee of the school district?
Well, that's a really good question. And I don't know. I mean, first of all, I guess I have a question back to you is, are most high school teachers paid extra to be coaches?
Yes.
In America?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I mean, if it's a school sport, obviously, like the stuff my daughter does is not school sponsored. So
Right.
That's separate.
Yeah, I've seen it in the minutes of Board of Ed meetings. At least in our district, they do get extra for it. I don't know if it's that way everything, but I would think so, because it's after school. Usually it's extra time outside of the normal school day.
Yeah. See, in where we came from, they weren't. It was their own time. So we're a little bit easier on them because we knew that they were giving up their own time. So in this situation, I don't know. See, I don't know, and that's why I throw out this question.
Well, another thing that I wonder about is whether it makes a difference if the mother complains or the father complains.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell my husband to go and do something because it'll sound better coming from a dad than from a mom.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Totally. I don't know. And I just keep thinking, this is high school. I mean, this is not the Olympics.
Yeah.
And part of being on a high school team isn't just about winning the league. It's about, working as a team, growing socially and emotionally. Like, I think we need to relook at what's the purpose of high school sports. It's something that we're really struggling with in our house right now is how to move forward in this situation because she loves the sport, absolutely loves it. Really works on it outside of school, works on it year round, off season. It's not something that she wants to give up, but is this the right avenue? Like, is this a situation where we really fight to have, and I mean really work towards having her stay there and make it a positive situation for her? Or do we just pull her out and have her participate in it in other more positive arenas?
Yeah. How does she feel about it?
She really doesn't know either. She's really struggling as well. Like, it's just this big question mark that's hanging over our house right now because we've invested so much time and energy into it.
There may not be good alternate choices.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for one thing, it's just not the same as representing your school and being on your school team. But, are there even outside leagues or whatever and off season? So I think that's hard too, when people say, well, you should pull your kid because that's not a good experience. Well, yeah, but then they don't get to play and that's not right either. So it's really tough. And then of course the whole college application issue.
Yeah.
If you've played on a high school sport for 4 years, that really, that really beefs up your resume. So I don't know.
I think this is one of many things in which there is no good, easy answer. And pretty much everything you do has repercussions that you may or may not anticipate. But, you know.
I mean, you strive for the ideal in which you're going to put your child in a sport. They're going to have a great team bonding experience. The coach is going to be positive and enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Your child is going to develop all sorts of skills. But
yeah. In your experience as a teacher, if somebody felt that you were doing something inappropriate, how would you want that parent to approach you?
You know, I am not a face-to-face confrontational person because I cannot, in the moment, I melt. You know, write me a letter, send me an email, call me. Mm-hmm. I'm not opposed to emails and letters. Yeah. It gives me time to think about the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't need somebody to come up to me after school and lay everything out.
Yeah.
And that's usually, and in fact, that's usually the time when things are most heated and most emotional and have the most negative impact. If you're writing an email, you have more time to think about your tone.
Yeah. But do that, because I've seen a lot of emails that parents do not think about their tone. I may possibly have sent some emails in which I didn't think about my tone, but it's like put it in the draft drawer for a little while and then go back and look at it before you send it. And I mean, I would say just think about how you would want a parent to put those concerns to you, and then expect the follow-up to be how you would have followed it up when you were. I mean, obviously nobody was ever accusing you of bullying, I would hope, but, you know, people interpret all sorts of things differently. I have a friend who just started, got her first classroom experience as a teacher, and the things that parents are coming at her with, and she's complaining about parents, and I'm going, did that, did that. But I'm here for you, pal.
Yeah, it's not easy. And so then I have a lot of empathy for the coach too, because I'm like, I know what it's like to be in that situation too, when people are frustrated and upset, and hopefully I never caused that level of upset, but it's definitely, we're between a rock and a hard place right now.
Yes. Well,
so I don't even know what the takeaway message is here for parents, but other than to say, hey, we are all, I think it's you're not alone.
Yes. We're just here to talk about what you're obsessing and complaining about right now. We're not here to tell you how to handle it. We're just here to obsess and complain with you.